Remember going to this popular restaurant and choosing one of its 28 flavors of ice cream? Or having a flame-broiled burger with your kids' meal at this famous fast food joint? Today we take a look at 10 big restaurant chains that went out of business. Howard Johnson's began as a small soda fountain and newsstand in Quincy, Massachusetts. It would eventually grow into the largest restaurant chain in the United States. When Howard Deering Johnson took over the business from his father in 1925, he transformed it by improving the ice cream recipe to include nearly twice the amount of butterfat. This change made the restaurant incredibly popular, leading to the creation of one of the first modern restaurant franchises. The chain expanded into many locations and even included motor lodges for travelers. Howard Johnson's was famous for offering 28 different ice cream flavors, including unique ones like burgundy cherry and frozen pudding. Burger Chef was once a thriving fast food chain that competed fiercely with giants like McDonald's. It began in the 1950s and quickly became popular for its innovative offerings and family-friendly atmosphere. The chain introduced the concept of a kids' meal, which included a toy, long before McDonald's launched its Happy Meal. At its peak, Burger Chef boasted over 1,200 locations across the United States, making it one of the largest chains of its time. However, due to various business challenges and competition, the chain began to decline in the late 1970s and was eventually absorbed by Hardee's in the early 1980s. Burger Chef was the first to develop the flame-broiled burger, a technique now famously associated with Burger King. Kenny Rogers Roasters was an iconic chain restaurant that specialized in savory chicken dishes. It was founded in 1991 by country music star Kenny Rogers and former Kentucky Governor John Y. Brown Jr. The restaurant was well known for its wood-fired rotisserie chicken, which was a healthier dining option compared to fried chicken offerings at other fast food outlets. By 1995, the chain had grown rapidly and was operating numerous locations worldwide. However, despite its initial success, Kenny Rogers Roasters struggled in the U.S. market and was eventually bought out by its competitor, Nathan's Famous, in 1998. Kenny Rogers Roasters is featured in a Seinfeld episode where the restaurant's bright neon sign keeps Kramer from sleeping. Chi-Chi's was a popular Mexican restaurant that started in the 1970s, offering a festive dining atmosphere and a menu full of Mexican-inspired cuisine. It quickly became famous for its signature dishes, including enchiladas, tacos, and fried ice cream. The chain expanded rapidly, and at its peak, there were hundreds of Chi-Chi's restaurants across the United States. However, in the early 2000s, the brand suffered from a severe blow when a hepatitis A outbreak was linked to green onions at one of its locations, tragically resulting in 3 deaths and making hundreds ill. This incident severely damaged the brand's reputation, contributing to its decline and eventual closure. While it no longer exists in the US, it still operates in Belgium, Luxembourg, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates. Steak and Ale began in the 1960s and was known for its unique combination of steakhouse meals with a casual dining atmosphere. The founder, Norman Brinker, introduced the concept of a salad bar to the restaurant industry, revolutionizing how customers could customize their dining experience. The restaurant offered affordable steak dinners in an environment that mimicked the style of English taverns, adding a touch of class without the high prices. At its peak during the mid-1980s, Steak and Ale had around 280 outlets across the U.S. Unfortunately, like many other popular chains, Steak and Ale struggled in the competitive restaurant market and eventually closed its doors. Its last locations were shuttered in 2008 when its parent company filed for bankruptcy. White Tower was a popular hamburger joint founded in 1926, modeled after the famous White Castle restaurant. Its design featured gleaming white exteriors and a medieval-style tower, aimed at capturing the attention of customers. The restaurant specialized in small, easily consumable hamburgers, which were a novelty at the time and helped to popularize the fast food concept. The chain would employ staff dressed as nurses called the Towerettes to evoke the feeling of a clean, hygienic environment. White Tower expanded rapidly, and at its height in the 1950s, there were 230 White Tower locations across the U.S. However, the chain eventually faced legal challenges from White Castle due to its similar branding and operations. The Brown Derby was a famous chain of restaurants known for its unique hat-shaped buildings that resembled a brown derby hat. It began in Los Angeles during the golden age of Hollywood and became a hotspot for movie stars and celebrities. The original location opened in the 1920s and was popular for its upscale menu and glamorous clientele. The chain expanded and several locations were opened, maintaining the iconic architecture and stylish atmosphere. The restaurants were not only dining spots, but also places where Hollywood deals were made and celebrities gathered. Interestingly, the Brown Derby is credited with the creation of the Cobb salad, invented by its owner, Robert Cobb. Red Barn was a fast food chain known for its distinctive barn-shaped restaurants painted in bright red, making it a recognizable part of the American landscape. Starting in the early 1960s, Red Barn expanded rapidly, boasting features like self-service salad bars, which were innovative at the time. This chain was well loved for its menu that included the Big Barney and the Barn Buster hamburgers, which were favorites among customers. Despite its popularity, Red Barn struggled in the competitive fast food market and began to decline in the 1980s. The last Red Barn restaurant closed its doors in 1988, leaving behind fond memories for those who grew up enjoying its food. Red Barn restaurants were one of the first to offer a self-service salad bar, a concept that has since become common in many dining establishments. Beefsteak Charlie's was an American restaurant known for its generous offerings and catchy slogan, "You're gonna get spoiled." The restaurant started in the early 20th century in New York City and quickly became famous for its all-you-can-eat salad bar, shrimp cocktails, and pitchers of beer or sangria included with every meal. At its peak, Beefsteak Charlie's grew to have multiple locations, primarily in the northeastern U.S., where families and groups could enjoy hearty meals in a welcoming atmosphere. However, like many dining chains, it struggled to adapt to changing economic conditions and dining trends. By the late 1980s, the chain began to decline, eventually disappearing in the early 2000s. In a 2018 episode of the sitcom The Goldbergs, the family visits Beefsteak Charlie's, showing its effect on popular culture. Farrell's ice cream parlor and sandwich chain began in 1963 in Portland, Oregon. It was famous for its festive atmosphere and elaborate ice cream sundaes, often celebrated with music and decorations from the early 1900s. At its peak in the 1970s, Farrell's expanded to over 120 locations, serving as a fun place for family celebrations and birthday parties, where kids could get a free ice cream on their birthday. However, after changing ownership multiple times, Farrell's popularity declined, and many locations closed. By 2019, all Farrell's parlors had shut down, marking the end of an era for the iconic chain. At one point, they offered a whimsical low-calorie diet menu featuring humorous, non-existent dishes as a joke for those who indulge too much in their ice cream. So, what restaurants do you miss the most? Let us know in the comments why your favorite eatery should be brought back.